The empty country road stretched into darkness, lit only by the moon and the occasional streetlight. Police Officer Dan Harris yawned behind the wheel of his patrol car. It was 2 a.m., the slowest time of his night shift. Nothing ever happened in this small town at this hour. Harris had been a cop for 10 years. At 35 years old, he knew these quiet roads well. He took a sip of his now cold coffee and made a face. Just 2 more hours until he could go home to bed. Then his radar gun beeped. A car was coming up behind him. The digital screen showed it was going 62 miles per hour in a 55 zone, just a little over the speed limit. Not a big deal, but enough for Harris to pull the driver over. He turned on his flashing lights and waited. The black SUV didn't slow down right away. Harris felt his heartbeat speed up. Then finally, the SUV pulled over onto the shoulder of the road. Harris called into the police station. "This is Unit 12. I'm stopping a black SUV with Florida plates on Route 27. The dispatcher replied, "Got Unit 12. That license plate comes back clean. Be careful." Harris stepped out his car. The night air felt cool on his face. He walked toward the SUV with his flashlight. The windows were very dark, darker than the law allowed. He reached the driver's side and motioned for the window to come down. When the window lowered, Harris saw a man about 40 years old with short hair. The man wore a plain black t-shirt that showed his strong arms. His hand stayed at 10 and 2 on the steering wheel, not moving. "Good evening," Harris said. "Do you know why I stopped you?" The man turned his head slowly. His eyes were calm but intense. "I guess I was speeding, officer." His voice was steady and deep. Harris noticed the man wasn't nervous at all. Most people would already be reaching for their license or making excuses. This man just waited. "Let me see your license and registration," Harris said. The man nodded and slowly reached for his wallet. Every movement was careful and controlled. He handed Harris his license, then got the registration from the glove box. Even this simple action looked practiced, like he'd done it many times before. Harris looked at the license under his flashlight. The name said Jason Cole from Florida. But what caught Harris's eye was a small Navy SEAL symbol in the corner. His mouth went dry. "You're a Navy SEAL," Harris said without thinking. The man, Cole, didn't react at first. Then he said simply, "I was retired 3 years ago." Harris suddenly felt very aware that he was standing next to someone who had been trained to handle much more dangerous situations than a traffic stop. The papers in his hand felt heavier. Harris's radio crackled. "Unit 12, everything okay?" "Everything's fine," Harris answered. "Just finishing up here." He looked back at Cole, who was watching him with those calm eyes. The inside of the SUV was perfectly clean. No trash, nothing out of place. Everything neat and organized, just like you'd expect from a military man. "What brings you to our town so late?" Harris asked, trying to sound casual. "Just passing through," Cole said. "Going to visit family." Harris nodded. The registration matched the license. Everything seemed normal, but something felt different about this stop. Most people got nervous when pulled over. Cole was completely calm, like he'd been in this situation many times before. "I'll be right back," Harris said. He walked back to his patrol car, feeling Cole's eyes on him the whole way. Sitting in his car, Harris checked the license on his computer again. Everything came back clean. No tickets, no warrants. Then at the bottom of the screen, he saw something unusual. Military clearance, top level. Harris took a deep breath. He'd never seen that before. He radioed the station. "Dispatch, can you check this license for military status?" After a pause, the dispatcher came back, sounding more alert. "Unit 12, that person has high-level military clearance. Be very careful." Harris put down the radio. His hands were sweating now. He looked back at the SUV where Cole waited patiently. The whole stop had taken less than 5 minutes. But Harris already knew this wasn't a normal traffic stop. He walked back to the SUV, trying to look confident. The night air felt cooler now. He handed Cole back his license and registration. "Everything checks out, Mr. Cole. I'm just going to give you a warning this time. Please try to keep to the speed limit." Cole took his papers and nodded. "Thank you, officer." His voice was calm, but his eyes seemed to say he knew this would happen. Harris stepped back. Drive safe. As he walked to his patrol car, Harris could feel his heart pounding. He'd been a cop long enough to know when he'd gotten lucky, and something told him tonight he'd been luckier than he realized. The SUV's engine started quietly, and Cole drove away smoothly, disappearing down the dark road. Harris sat in his car for a long moment, watching the red taillights get smaller in the distance. Then he noticed something strange, a white business card on his passenger seat. It had just a phone number and the words, "If you ever need help," written in neat letters. Harris had no idea how it got there. He picked up the card and put it in his wallet. Somehow, he felt this wasn't the last he'd see of Jason Cole. The radio crackled. "Unit 12, everything okay?" Harris pressed a button. "Everything's fine. Just thinking." As he drove back onto the empty road, Harris couldn't shake the feeling that tonight had been some kind of test, and he wasn't completely sure he'd passed. Officer Harris watched the black SUV disappear into the night, his hand still gripping the steering wheel a little too tight. His heart pounded like he'd just run a mile. That traffic stop hadn't gone how he expected. Not at all. He took a deep breath and looked at the business card again. Just a phone number and those words. "If you ever need help." What kind of help would a Navy SEAL think a small-town cop might need? Harris shook his head and started his patrol car. The radio crackled with the usual late-night chatter, but his mind was somewhere else. He kept seeing Cole's calm face, those steady eyes that didn't blink or look away. Most people got nervous around cops. Cole had acted like he was the one in charge the whole time. 3 hours later, Sunrise Diner. The bell above the door jingled as Harris walked into the diner. His shift was over, but he couldn't stop thinking about that traffic stop. He needed coffee and maybe some answers. His friend, Sergeant Mike Reynolds, already sat in their usual booth. Reynolds was 20 years older, with gray hair and a thick mustache. He took one look at Harris and said, "You look like you've seen a ghost." Harris slid into the booth. "Pulled over guy last night. Navy SEAL. Retired." Reynolds stopped stirring his coffee. "Let me guess. He didn't act like most people you pull over?" "Not even close," Harris said. He told Reynolds everything. The way Cole moved, the military clearance, even the mysterious business card. Reynolds whistled low. "You're lucky. Those guys don't like being messed with." "What did the registration say?" "Florida plates. Said he was visiting family." Reynolds frowned. Weird time to be visiting. Middle of the night? Harris hadn't thought about that. Why would someone drive through their small town at 2 a.m. just to visit family? Their conversation was interrupted by the TV over the counter. The morning news showed a breaking report. Local bank robbed last night. Suspects heavily armed. Police say they took over $200,000 before escaping. Harris froze. The security camera footage showed 3 men in masks, carrying military-style rifles. The way they moved, it was too smooth, too professional. Reynolds noticed Harris's expression. "What?" Harris lowered his voice. "That robbery happened an hour after I pulled Cole over. And those guys moved just like he did." Reynolds shook his head. "No way. A SEAL wouldn't rob a bank. They make good money. But what if..." Harris's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "You should check the security cam at the gas station near mile marker 141. Might help your investigation." Harris showed Reynolds a text. "How did they get my number? I didn't give Cole my card." Reynolds stood up so fast he knocked over his coffee. "Let's go check that camera." Gas station security footage. The gas station clerk looked nervous when 2 cops asked to see his security tapes, but he handed them over without argument. Harris fast-forwarded to 1:45 a.m. There was Cole's black SUV pulling in for gas. The timestamp proved he was there before the bank robbery. Then something else caught Harris's eye. A white van pulled in right after Cole left. 3 men got out, all wearing baseball caps and sunglasses at night. They moved with the same military precision as Cole. One man looked straight at the camera and smiled. Harris's blood ran cold. He recognized that smile from an old wanted poster. Marcus the Shark Donovan, former Marine, dishonorably discharged, now a known mercenary. Reynolds cursed under his breath. This is bad. These guys are professionals. Harris's phone buzzed again. Another text. Now you see. They're coming back tonight for the rest of the money. Be careful. Harris showed Reynolds. How does he know this? Reynolds looked at the gas station clerk, then back at Harris. We need to call this in, but carefully. If these guys have police scanners. Police station briefing room. Captain Alvarez listened to their story with growing concern. You think a retired SEAL is warning us about a bank robbery? Harris nodded. I think Cole recognized these guys. Maybe from his service days. Alvarez rubbed his temples. All right, here's what we'll do. We set up a quiet perimeter at the bank tonight. No sirens, no lights. If these guys show up, we take them down hard. As they left the briefing room, Reynolds pulled Harris aside. You should call your SEAL friend. If this goes bad, we might need his kind of help. Harris hesitated, then took out the business card. He dialed the number. It rang once. Then Cole's calm voice answered. I wonder when you call. Harris swallowed hard. They're coming back tonight, aren't they? A pause. Then, yes, and they'll kill anyone who gets in their way. You're not dealing with normal criminals here. Harris's mouth went dry. What should we do? Another pause. Then Cole said 5 words that changed everything. I'll meet you there. The line went dead. Harris looked at Reynolds. He's coming. Reynolds actually smiled. Well then, this might be interesting after all. 10 p.m. outside the bank. Harris crouched behind a patrol car, his gun drawn. The street was eerily quiet. Too quiet. A shadow moved near the bank's back door. Then another. The robbers were back, just like Cole predicted. Harris's radio crackled. Alvarez whispered, all units hold position. Wait for my signal. Then everything happened at once. Gunfire erupted from bank. The robbers had spotted the police. Harris ducked as bullets pinged off his car. These weren't normal criminals. Their shots were precise, controlled. Military training. An officer cried out in pain. They were pinned down and outgunned. That's when Harris saw him. A dark figure moving silently between buildings. Cole. The former SEAL moved like a ghost, getting closer to the bank without being seen. Then he did something Harris would never forget. Cole stepped into the open and whistled. All gunfire stopped. A voice from the bank shouted, No way. Cole? Is that you? Cole's voice was calm but carried clearly. Donovan, you don't want to do this. Walk out now and you might live. Silence. Then laughter. Or what? You'll arrest us yourself. Cole didn't move. Last chance, Marcus. More laughter. Then gunfire, but not at the police. At Cole. Harris watched in horror as Cole dug behind a car just in time. The police were still pinned down. They needed a miracle. Then Harris's phone buzzed. A text. When I move, you move. Get ready. Harris barely had time to process the message when Cole moved. It happened so fast Harris almost missed it. Cole sprinted across the street, drawing all the gunfire. At the same moment, the bank's power went out. Pitch blackness. Harris heard shouts, then the sound of fists hitting flesh. A gun went off, then silence. When the lights came back on, Harris couldn't believe his eyes. All 3 robbers were on the ground, unconscious or moaning in pain. And Cole stood over them, barely breathing hard. He looked at Harris and nodded once. Then before anyone could stop him, he disappeared into the night again. The police rushed forward to cuff the robbers. Reynolds clapped Harris on the back. I guess we owe your SEAL friend a thank you. Harris just stared at the spot where Cole had vanished. Who was this guy? His phone buzzed one last time. You did good tonight. Maybe I'll see you around. Harris smiled. Somehow, he knew that wasn't the last he'd see of Jason Cole. 2 weeks had passed since the bank robbery, and Officer Harris couldn't stop thinking about Jason Cole. The way he had taken down those armed robbers like it was nothing. The way he had vanished into the night, without waiting for thanks. Harris sat at his kitchen table, staring at the business card Cole had left behind. The words, if you ever need help, seemed to stare back at him. He flipped the card between his fingers, wondering if he should call. His phone buzzed, making him jump. A text from an unknown number. Meet me at the old train yard. Midnight. Come alone. Harris's heart raced. It had to be Cole. But how did he get this number? And why the train yard? He typed back, "Why should I trust you?" The reply came instantly. "Because you're curious. And I have answers." Harris sighed. The man was right. He was curious. Too curious to say no. 11:45 p.m. Old train yard. The train yard was abandoned, with rusted tracks and broken down boxcars scattered like forgotten toys. The moon cast long shadows across the cracked concrete. Harris parked his car out of sight and walked carefully, his hand resting near his gun. A voice came from the darkness. "You're early." Harris spun around. Cole stepped out from behind a train car, his face half hidden in shadow. He wore black tactical pants and a tight-fitting shirt that showed off his muscular frame. Even in the dim light, Harris could see the intensity in his eyes. "You got answers?" Harris asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Cole nodded. "First, tell me why you came." "Because I want to know who you really are," Harris said, "and why you helped us that night." Cole studied him for a long moment. Then he said, "Follow me." He led Harris to an old boxcar and slid the door open. Inside, a single lantern lit up a makeshift command center. Maps pinned to walls, a laptop, and surveillance photos of men Harris didn't recognize. Cole pointed to one of the photos. Marcus Donovan, former Marine, now works for a private military group called Blackthorn. Harris frowned. "The guys from the bank robbery?" Cole nodded. They weren't just robbing a bank. They were testing security for something bigger. "Bigger like what?" "A weapon shipment," Cole said. "Blackthorn is bringing in high-grade military tech to sell on the black market, and it's coming through your town in 3 days." Harris's stomach dropped. "Why tell me this? Why not go to the FBI?" Cole's jaw tightened. "Because Blackthorn has people inside the FBI, inside the police too. That's why I needed someone I could trust." Harris blinked. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," Cole said. "You followed your gut when you pulled me over. You didn't back down from those robbers. And you came here tonight instead of reporting me." Harris shook his head. "What do you want from me?" Cole handed him a folder. Inside were blueprints of the town's shipping depot, the place where Blackthorn's weapons were supposed to arrive. "I can't stop this alone," Cole said. "I need your help." Harris stared at the blueprints, his mind racing. This was way above his pay grade. But if what Cole said was true, innocent people could get hurt. He looked up. "What's the plan?" Cole almost smiled. "First, we watch. Then we strike." 3 days later, shipping depot. Harris crouched behind a stack of cargo crates, his heart pounding. The depot was quiet except for the hum of distant trucks. Cole moved silently beside him, checking his watch. "They'll be here soon," Cole whispered. "Remember, stay hidden until I give the signal." Harris nodded, gripping his gun tighter. He still couldn't believe he was doing this. Breaking protocol. Working with a rogue SEAL. But something about Cole made him trust him. A truck rumbled into the depot, its headlights cutting through the fog. 3 men stepped out, all armed. Harris recognized Donovan immediately. The same cold smile from the gas station footage. Donovan walked to the back of the truck and unlocked it. Inside were crates marked agricultural equipment. But when he pried one open, Harris saw the glint of assault rifles. Cole tapped Harris's shoulder. The signal. Harris took a deep breath. Then he pressed a button on the radio jammer Cole had given him. Instantly, all the lights in the depot went out. Shouts erupted from the Blackthorn men. "What the hell? We got company." Cole moved like lightning. Harris barely saw him take down the first guard before gunfire erupted. Bullets whizzed past Harris's head as he ducked behind cover. Then his radio crackled. The police frequency. "All units. Reports of shots fired at the shipping depot." Harris cursed. If backup arrived too soon, they'd blow the whole operation. He had to move fast. He spotted Donovan running toward a parked SUV. Harris sprinted after him, tackling him to the ground just as Donovan reached for his gun. They wrestled in the dirt, Donovan snarling. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Harris punched him hard in the jaw. "Yeah, I do." Then Cole was there, yanking Donovan up and zip-tying his hands. The other two Blackthorn men were already unconscious on the ground. Sirens wailed in the distance. Cole grabbed Harris's arm. "Time to go." Harris hesitated. "What about the weapons?" "Feds will take care of it," Cole said. "But we can't be here when they arrive." They ran to Cole's SUV just as police cars screeched into the depot. Harris looked back once, seeing the flashing lights illuminate the crates of weapons. Cole drove them away in silence. After a few minutes, Harris finally spoke. "So what now?" Cole kept his eyes on the road. "Now you go back to your life, and I disappear again." Harris frowned. "Just like that?" Cole glanced at him. "You did good tonight, but this isn't over. Blackthorn has more people, more weapons." "So we stopped them," Harris said. Cole shook his head. "Not we. This is my fight. You've got a family, a life." Harris opened his mouth to argue, but his phone buzzed. A message from the police station. "All officers report in immediately. Possible terrorist activity at shipping depot." Cole nodded toward the phone. "They'll debrief you. Tell them the truth, but leave me out of it." Harris sighed. "And if they don't believe me?" Cole pulled over to the side of the road. "Then you'll know who's working for Blackthorn." Harris stared at him. "You're really just going to vanish again?" Cole reached into his pocket and handed Harris a new business card. This one had a different number. "Next time you need me," Cole said, "call this one." Then he drove off, leaving Harris standing alone on the dark road. Harris looked down at the card. This time, it only had 2 words. "Stay ready." The rain hammered against the police station windows as Officer Harris sat at his desk, turning Cole's business card over in his fingers. The words "stay ready" stared back at him like a challenge. 3 weeks had passed since the shipping depot incident, and the station still buzzed with unanswered questions. Captain Alvarez had grilled him repeatedly. FBI agents had taken him through his story again and again. Everyone wanted to know how a small-town cop had stumbled onto a major weapons smuggling ring. Harris kept his answers simple, an anonymous tip, nothing more. The phone on his desk rang sharply. "Harris," he answered. "Officer, we got shots fired at the old steel mill," the dispatcher reported. Multiple callers reporting automatic gunfire. Harris's grip tightened on the receiver. That was one of the locations Cole had marked on his maps. "I'm on it," Harris said, already reaching for his gear. As he sped through the storm, his phone vibrated with a text from an unknown number. "They're here. Approach quietly." It could only be Cole. Harris killed his sirens and lights as he neared the abandoned mill. The crumbling factory looked like something from a horror movie in the flashing lightning. Gun drawn, Harris crept toward a broken window. Inside, shadows moved between rusted machinery, armed men in tactical gear sweeping the area. Then he spotted Cole, pinned down behind a stack of steel beams, outnumbered 6-1. A familiar voice echoed through the empty building. "Give it up, Cole. We have you surrounded." Harris's stomach dropped. Donovan, he must have escaped custody. Cole stayed perfectly still as 2 gunmen advanced toward his position. Harris had to act fast. He grabbed a loose brick and hurled it through a distant window. The crash sent all the gunmen spinning toward the noise. That was all Cole needed. He moved like lightning, taking down 2 men before they could react. Gunfire erupted as Harris charged through a side door. "Cole, on your left." Harris shouted as another attacker appeared. Cole whirled and disarmed the man with 2 quick motions. Harris provided cover fire, keeping the other gunmen ducking for cover. Donovan's voice boomed with gunfire. "You're both dead men." Something metallic clattered across the floor toward them. "Grenade!" Cole yanked Harris behind a thick support column just as the explosion shook the building. Concrete dust rained down on them. "You hit?" Cole asked, checking Harris for wounds. "Just my pride," Harris coughed. "We're trapped, though." Donovan laughed through the smoke. "Game over." Harris suddenly remembered the mill's old emergency alarm system. He pointed to a red box on the far wall. Cover me. Cole laid down, suppressing fire, while Harris crawled to the alarm. He smashed the glass and yanked the lever down. Deafening sirens blared through the factory. The gunmen clutched their ears in pain, all except Donovan, who kept advancing. Cole met him head-on. The two combatants fought with brutal efficiency, each move calculated to kill. Harris watched, transfixed, as they traded blows like something from an action movie. Then steel flashed in Donovan's hand. A knife. Harris raised his gun, but the fighters were moving too fast for a clean shot. Cole caught Donovan's wrist just as the blade came down, twisting until bone snapped. Donovan screamed but headbutted Cole, sending them both crashing through a weakened section of railing. Harris sprinted forward in time to see Cole and Donovan grappling on a rustic catwalk high above the factory floor. The metal groaned ominously under their weight. "Cole, it's going to collapse," Harris shouted. Donovan kneed Cole in the ribs and tried to throw him over the edge. Cole barely held on as the catwalk swayed dangerously. Harris took careful aim and fired once. The bullet struck Donovan's shoulder, making him stagger back. Cole seized the moment, flipping Donovan onto his back and pinning him just as the catwalk gave way beneath them. They fell, but Cole grabbed a hanging chain at the last second, swinging to safety as Donovan disappeared into the flooded basement below. A distant splash echoed up through the darkness. Harris helped Cole down. "Is he?" Cole peered into the hole. "Doesn't matter now. It's finished." Approaching sirens wailed in the distance. Real police this time. Cole turned to leave. "Wait!" Harris grabbed his arm. "After all this, you're just going to vanish again?" Cole studied Harris's face. "You did good tonight. Better than most trained operators." "Then let me help you," Harris insisted. "However I can." Cole reached into his pocket and handed Harris a sleek black phone. "This only calls one number." Harris took it. "What now?" "Now you go back to your life," Cole said. "But when the real threats come, and they will, you call me." Harris nodded. "And you'll answer?" For the first time, Cole almost smiled. Every time. Then he was gone, melting into the storm like a ghost. Harris stood quietly as the first patrol cars skidded to a stop outside. Captain Alvarez rushed up, shouting questions. Harris simply held up the black phone. "It's over, Captain. They won't be bothering us again." Later, alone in the evidence room, Harris examined the phone Cole had given him. He pressed a single button. A familiar voice answered immediately. "Not yet, officer." The line went dead. Harris smiled and pocketed the phone. Somewhere out there, Cole was watching, and for the first time in his career, Harris felt truly prepared for whatever might come next. The storm outside was passing. Dawn would be here soon. Officer Harris walked out of the police station, the special phone from Cole resting securely in his pocket. The memories of last night's battle in the steel mill already seemed unreal. The gunshots, the explosions, Donovan's final moments. On the highway outside town, a black SUV accelerated into the distance. Behind the wheel, Jason Cole allowed himself one brief look in the rearview mirror before focusing on the road ahead. Some fights were finished, but his mission would always continue. Back at the station, Captain Alvarez approached Harris. "That was some night, officer. You sure you don't want to tell me everything that happened?" Harris just touched his pocket where the phone lay hidden. "Some stories are better with a little mystery, Captain. And so we leave our heroes, for now. Did you enjoy watching what happened when a cop pulled over a Navy SEAL? Then make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our next exciting story. What do you think will happen when Harris finally makes that call to Cole? Let us know your predictions in the comments below. We have many more thrilling stories coming soon. Special operations missions, undercover agents, and ordinary people facing extraordinary challenges. Your support helps us create more of the content you love to watch. If you watch this whole story, we'd love to hear from you. Just comment, "Watch it all," below. We read every single comment. Don't forget to subscribe now, because you never know when you might need someone like Cole to have your back.